All right, so we want our menu to be mobile friendly. So we're going to make it responsive by using media queries. Okay, just like we've done in the past, in past projects. Now, one thing I want to do is I want there to be a wrapper div for the menu only when which should be responsive. So only when we get down to here, we need to add a div. All right, and the only way we can do that, well, the easiest way we can do that is through JavaScript, through jQuery. All right, basically we just want to prepend a div tag called menu trigger, okay, which will trigger the responsive menu. So let's go to the index page, and we've already added our include to add jQuery to our page. So now we want to open another set of script tags. Okay, and we're going to do a little bit of jQuery. If you don't know jQuery, don't worry about it. There's only maybe 5 lines we need to do. So basically, the dollar, I'm not going to explain everything about jQuery, but basically the $sign is a symbol for jQuery, and we can put any kind of element in here we want. We can put a class name, an ID name, we can put like a P for all paragraphs, or an A for links. In this case, we're going to put in document, which just means the entire document, okay, the entire everything that's in the browser. And we want to say that when that document is ready, okay, when it's loaded, when the page is loaded, we want to run a function, okay, and then inside this function is where we want to do our stuff. Okay, so basically we want to add a div. So what we want to do now is take our top div, which is menu wrap. All right, so we want to grab that with jQuery. Okay, we can use selectors just like we would use in CSS. So menu wrap, and then what do we want to do to that? We want to prepend. Okay, we want to prepend a div. So div ID equals menu trigger. Okay, and then we'll say menu div. Okay, we want this content to be inserted before menu wrap. Okay, only when the menu button is clicked on. Okay, so when we make it responsive and we make it smaller, we'll have a menu button, and when that's clicked, we want our drop down to pop out. All right, so underneath this, we're going to say menu trigger. Okay, so we're going to use dot on. So on click, okay, when it's clicked, we want to run a function. And what we want to happen is we want the menu to slide down, but we also want it to slide up when we click it again, so we're going to use slide toggle. All right, and that's it. That's all the JavaScript that we need to use. Okay, so when the browser is shrunk down, we'll get the menu button. We click that menu button, and then our menu slide toggles. So it slides down. If we click it again, it slides up. Okay, that's all toggle means. So with that said, now we can do the CSS. Okay, do our media queries. Let's go ahead and add, whoops, sorry about that. Let's add our media query. So we'll say at media, and then inside here we'll say max width is 700 pixels. So when the window is, or the screen is thinner than 700 pixels, whatever we put here will run. All right, so first thing, let's take the menu wrap, and position it relative. Alright, and then menu wrap, and we're going to use the asterisk here. So basically everything that's in the menu wrap, we'll say box sizing border box. And basically what that's going to do is make sure that everything in the menu, everything that is inside of the unordered list is going to be the same width as the menu itself. Okay, so the drop down should be the same width as the actual menu. Okay, if that makes sense. So now we want to do the menu trigger, which is getting placed in through jQuery, which we just did, and set it to display block. Okay, height 40 pixels, line height 40 pixels as well, and then we want to change the cursor to a pointer. Alright, and then padding 0, 0, 0, 35 pixels. The border will be 1 pixel, and solid and 107,677. Color will be white. Let's make all the text bold, so font weight bold. And the background, I'm going to use 111. And okay, so we want that menu button. All right, so, or that menu image. If we look at the final product, we want this to be the background image. All right, so this is where we can do that. So let's see, background. Okay, what I'm going to do here is in the same line say URL, and that's going to go to our image folder, and then menu.png. Okay, we want not to repeat that. No repeat. Let's position it to 10 pixels and then center. And I want to add that linear gradient. Basically, I want this little icon to be the background image, but behind that we need a gradient. Okay, we want the gradient, which, let's see, grab this. Actually, I just want this, and just put that right after this comma. Alright, so that should do it. Let's make the border radius. Let's make it 6 pixels. And that looks good. That should be good. Alright, so save that. Okay, so you can see that this menu, this is now showing. Alright, so it's acting really funky, and that's fine because we're not done. But we don't want this to show unless we're at 700 pixels or less. So what we need to do is go above our media query. Okay, make sure you're not inside of it, and we're going to say menu trigger. I'm just going to put a little comment here. Say hide initially. Okay, we're going to set it display none. Okay, so we'll make it hidden, and then when it goes under 700 pixels, it's going to display block, which will show it again. Okay, so if we save that, let's reload. Okay, you can see it's gone. When we get to a certain, when we get to 700 pixels or less, it shows up again. Okay, so we still have some work to do here. So inside of the same media query, we're going to grab the menu itself, and we want to do some things to it. Okay, so I'm going to zero out the margin, padding, we'll say 10 pixels, and then position, absolute, top 40 pixels, and width will be 100%. Okay, we want it to be 100% of the window or of the screen. I'm going to set the Z index to 1 and set display none. Okay, and the reason for that is we don't want the links to show. You can see right now these links are still showing. We don't want that. Okay, if we look at the finished one, we shrink it. The links aren't there, only the images. Okay, so display none, and let's set the box shadow to none. Okay, now we'll do menu. We'll use the pseudo selector after content, and we're going to position absolute, the left 25 pixels, and the top -8 pixels, and then our borders, let's see, I'm going to copy this. Okay, so border left, I'm going to make it 8 pixels, solid transparent, right 8 pixels, and 8 pixels, but we want that other green color, this one. Okay, so now we want the unordered lists. So menu UL, we want to position relative. I'm sorry, we want to position static and set the visibility to visible. Let's try to spell it right this time. And opaque is going to be 1, margin 0, and I want to set the background and the box shadow to none. Alright, now I want to target the sub item or sub list, which would be menu UL. And for that, we'll say margin. So left, I want 20 pixels. And then I just want to set box shadow to none. Alright, so next we're going to do the list items. This will apply to all list items. Alright, and I'm going to position it static, and we want to display as a block. Float, I'm going to set to none. Okay, we don't want our list items to float because this is going to be in a vertical fashion, not horizontally. So we'll set the border to 0 and give them a margin of 5 pixels, and again we'll set the box shadow to none. Alright, so let's just see what we have so far. Okay, so the background here isn't showing. Must have made a little mistake. We'll probably go back and check that after. The drop down's working. Alright, it's very long because we're no longer hiding these sub items. We want them all to show, but we're going to fix this up so that it's not as long. We'll put the list items will be closer together, so we still have a little bit to do. Alright, so the next thing I want to do is for basically the second level list items. I'm going to set a margin left to 20 pixels and box shadow to none. Alright, and then we want the links. We're going to display block. We want them all to be on their own line. So display block. We're going to set the float to none. Padding I'm going to set to 0, and then the color I'm just going to make sure that it's white. Okay, and then for the hover state, for hover I just want to change the color to FA, and we need a number sign here, and then let's see, let's do menu UL A. Okay, we'll get all the unordered list links and make sure that the padding is set to 0, and the width I'm going to set to auto. Alright, and for those hover states, right now we have a gradient background when we hover, but I'm going to take that away. Background is going to be none. Alright, so that looks good. Let's go ahead and save this and reload. Okay, so that looks really good actually. I'm gonna take away this this background when I hover. You can see that when you hover these links right here, it does a little motion. I didn't mean to do that, but I think I'm just gonna leave it like that. I kind of like it, but I want to get rid of that background. Okay, so let's see. Actually, you know what? This should do it. Let's make this important. That should hide it for us. Okay, we hover, now we have no background. Alright. So let's see. You can see the separator image right here. If you look close, the little lines. Okay, I want to get rid of those. And I forget what those are actually set on. Alright, so it's right here. So I'm just gonna, actually we should have that down here, menu list items. Yeah, right here. So let's just set the background to none, and we'll make that important, and that should get rid of those separator images. Alright, good. Very good. So we have this issue with the background for the main navigation bar. So I think the reason that that background isn't showing is I need to change this. I need to make this a background color and do the 111 and then take this out like that. I think that will work. Yeah, alright. So now we have the menu, this menu PNG here. This is these lines, okay, this little icon. And then we're also adding the gradient as well behind that. Okay, so that looks good. So that brings us to the end of the project, and you can now use this menu in your website project if you want. I think it's much cleaner than using JavaScript or jQuery to give you your drop downs. So that's it. I will see you in the next project.